Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of My Car Guru. I do want to ask you a question, a rhetorical question, because I can't hear your answers. How do you react when things don't go your way? And possibly, what are the things that influence how you react or respond when things don't go your way? Two key words there, reaction and response. You know, when you think of reaction, do you think of like when you go to the doctor and they give you a shot and you break out in a rash? That's what I call a reaction. Or a response is when you go to the doctor, you're sick, you get a shot, and you're better. Like every time I get poison ivy, I realize that this is going to be a journey if I don't go to the doctor and get a steroid shot. If I get a steroid shot, it puts the brakes on the spread and the itch and everything. But if I try to tough it out and, just use the calamine lotion or whatever I can to dry it up, it's just a long thing. I swear I think it gets in my bloodstream because it spreads to parts of my body that weren't anywhere near a poison ivy plant because they were completely covered with clothing. Well, Lenny, you had it on your hands and then you touched yourself in different places. No, okay, fine. I don't know why, but I know the steroid shot is, I have a good response to that. The reason I bring this up is I see all kinds of different responses, even in my own family. For example, we're going down the road and my wife's driving and something happens. She'll let out not a scream, but, one of those kind of things. And I say, what? And I don't see anything happening, and we're about to run over a squirrel. I say, honey, running over a squirrel or about to is not worth a loud declaration like that. You scared me. I'm sorry. But that's just, how some people react. But what about when you have car trouble? Is that something that you fear? Most people don't really think about it. They're just going down the road and everything's been fine for the last 10,000 miles and they don't anticipate a flat tire. They don't anticipate the engine overheating. But what do they do when those things do happen? Do they go into a panic state? Most people are, I guess, probably a little less prone to a panic state because they have a cell phone. But who do they call? Do they have connections? What if you can't reach your husband? He's in a meeting, or your dad, or somebody else. You're on your own, and you have some type of a situation with your automobile, and you don't know who to call. What is your reaction? Fear? See, I've been in this business long enough and I've had a lot of breakdowns in a lot of different circumstances. And it's an inconvenience, but it's not anything to panic about. Why? Because I've been through it too many times. I know who to call. I know what to do. Could I change a tire if I had a flat tire? Absolutely. I've had to do it a bunch. I know what it feels like to try to take a lug nut off, especially if it's been put on with an impact wrench. It's not easy. And if you're out there and you have no alternative and you don't want to flag somebody down that, is going to possibly harass you or whatever, then you want to be able to do those things yourself if you possibly can. Now, I don't see a lot of flat tires these days. People pulled over changing tires, but it does happen. Tires have gotten a lot better than they were 50 years ago when I first got into the car business. But it still happens. And the important thing is not to panic. Somewhere in your car, you should have a list of phone numbers of people that you can call and rely on, businesses that are auto-related. Who is your tire store? Who are you going to call if you have a tire issue? If you have an emergency issue, are you going to call roadside assistance? Does the vehicle that you purchased, if it's new enough and still under warranty, it's very possible that they have a roadside assistance number. Of course, you can keep all these in your phone as well. But it's not a bad idea to have them written down on the outside of your owner's manual or maybe on your maintenance record book that you're supposed to keep. Yeah, you could have a wrecker company that's local. Now, if you're, in an area you're traveling, you don't know the record companies, then you might have to do a Google search if you have a cell phone signal. But what's the plan if that happens? Let's say that you're driving to the beach and you're on I-26, and all of a sudden your car quits. What's the phone call to make? Who is it? Let's say you're driving a Toyota, and it just check engine light comes on, engine shuts off, you coast to the side of the road. Now what? I've heard some nightmares about roadside assistance, that people call them, and then 3 hours later they show up. What's the expectation? The sad thing is you really don't know until the event happens and you're out there stuck. But you should have phone numbers, especially if if let's say you're not on a trip and you're just driving around town. Which record company are you going to call if you have to have your vehicle towed in? Which body shop are you going to go to if you have an accident? Which car dealership are you going to have service your vehicle, on a regular basis? I had a guy trade in a vehicle to me yesterday, and he bought it new from us, and what he would always do is he would buy his own oil and filter and then take it to another business that he uses and have them change the oil. And that's great. He was maintaining his vehicle on a regular basis. What was he not doing? Well, doesn't sound like they were following the owner's manual, unless he provided that book to them and said, check all of these things. Because if you're not taking your vehicle back to the dealer that sold you the vehicle, that brand, and having it inspected and the oil change is done there, then if you ever have a warranty problem, then it's very possible that they will turn it down. Because let's say that you can't provide any kind of records, and they don't know by looking at your records whether or not you had everything inspected that was supposed to be inspected. If they're the ones doing it all the time, you won't have a problem with warranty. You won't have a problem with after warranty repairs, when your warranty expires. So these are important things. Have you ever changed a tire? Some cases it's not easy, especially if the lug nuts, like I said, have been put on with an impact wrench. They're really, really tight. And if all you have is just a little lug nut wrench, it could be really difficult if you're not, super strong. So that's something that you need to practice in your driveway. Have you ever pulled the jack out of the vehicle? Have you ever jacked your car up? Do you know where the lifting points are on the car? You can't just pull a jack out and just lift it up from any angle. No, you have to find out where the lifting points are on the vehicle, or you could damage the vehicle. That's why fire departments and police departments and places like that, they practice. They know what to do in an emergency because they've practiced it many times. Do you know what to do? Are you even checking the condition of your tires on a regular basis, or are you relying on some stranger to do that? How hard is it to check the tread depth on your tires? It's not hard. You can Google it. You can watch a YouTube video. You can come to my dealership and I'll show you personally. But yeah, it's not hard. And how to check the air pressure in your tires so that your tires last longer. And then, the risk goes down dramatically if you're doing those things when it comes to having some kind of problem out there on the road with your tires. It probably won't happen, but it might. So right now, going into the fall, you need to make an appointment. If you got an oil change coming up pretty soon, good for you. Make sure that it is taken to a new car dealer that sells the brand of vehicle that you're driving, or to somebody who really, really knows what they're doing. Some independent shop that's going to really inspect the car, do a bumper-to-bumper evaluation. Most dealers call them multi-point inspections, and it's just a piece of paper that's got all the different things that you should check, and it's got a green dot, a yellow dot, or a red dot. And if they check anything in the red, then that needs to be taken care of now. If it's in the yellow, maybe your brake pads are getting kind of thin, you might have another 5,000 miles left on your brake pad thickness, then they'll mark it in the yellow. I see people get their multi-point checklist here at the dealership, and we review it with them, before they leave. And they say, no, I'll take care of that the next time. And then they just forget about it. They fold it up, stick it in the pocketbook, or stuff it in the glove box. And they don't remember that this is something that needs to be taken care of. And they go on a long cross-country trip, and all of a sudden their brake light comes on, or there's some type of an issue with the brakes. It's making a noise. It's scrubbing. Next thing you know, that brake pad is down to the rivets, and it's digging into the rotors, and now they have to replace both rotors on the front. And they went from a $200 brake job to a $600 brake job because they just weren't paying attention to the yellow dots on their multi-point inspection form. So there are certain things you need to learn, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you through this podcast and radio show. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. I guarantee if you had a horse, and it was back in the 1800s, you would probably make sure that horse was well fed, was taken care of. I don't know everything you have to do to a horse. I see people brushing them and washing them off and, giving them a bath and then checking their shoes, making sure that that their feet are protected. Because that horse goes lame, you're out of luck. And the car today, that's our horse of yesterday. I'll give you an example of somebody not paying attention to their vehicle. I've got it in the shop right now. The vehicle is within the factory warranty period from a time standpoint and a mile standpoint. But guess who's having to pay for their new engine? They are. And they are not happy, but it's their fault. The engine just seized up because it didn't have adequate lubrication. And when we pulled off the oil pan, it's full of sludge around the valves at the top of the engine, full of sludge. They said, well, we changed our oil, but there's no records, and it's obvious that they didn't. I mean, you can say something like that, and you can say, well, I think I did, or, yeah, I know we've changed our oil. Can you prove it? Well, no. Well, the engine tells the story. And when it comes down to it, it looks as though, they got close to 30,000 miles on it. It looks like if they ever changed the oil, they might have done it one time. But we try to submit that to Ford, as a warranty claim, and they're going to turn it down. But even if they don't turn it down and we just go ahead and fix it, they may request the parts. And when they inspect the parts, they're going to charge it back to us. What is this costing the customer? About $7,500 plus tax. And this same kind of thing can happen if you just ignore your gauges, the signals that your car is sending to you, like your temperature gauge or your oil pressure light or oil pressure gauge. There's so many different things on there. Do you know what they mean? If a light comes on. When you get in a bad situation and you see a light and you say, what's that? What does that mean? That's when you decide that you're on the side of the road and you say, well, open the glove box, get the owner's manual out. It's not in there. It's at your house. And so you don't know what the light is. It's too late. So what do you do about this? Well, like I say, you go to a new car dealer or a very professional independent shop, not the fast lube places, don't go buy your own oil and filter and then take it to some other, maybe to your next door neighbor or somebody else to do it because they're not checking everything that needs to be checked. But maybe they are. Maybe they are checking everything. But if you have an issue like these folks have, and let's say that and this does happen, that your warranty runs out, it's been a great car. You drive another 15,000, 20,000 miles and that transmission goes out. And you go back in the dealership and they say, well, it's going to be $3,500 to fix the transmission. And you say, would you mind just checking to see if warranty will take care of this? First thing they're going to do is pull up your service history. And if you've had it serviced at that dealership on a regular basis, it's going to get covered. Now, they may not pay for everything. Like, for example, they may make you pay a percentage of it, or you pay the labor, they buy the parts, something like that. But in most cases, though, that I've seen and that I've gotten involved in, because I do have some influence as the dealer, I'll call the rep and I say, listen, we've got to help these people. They've been diligent about maintenance. They're loyal customers. Please get the factory to pay for this. And most of the time, they'll come through and pay for it. But it does help to have that advocate in the dealership that you know. And if you're going in there on a regular basis, they recognize you, they know you, and they really do want to help you. If you've bought a vehicle from them and you've never darkened their door, then it's a different kind of a situation. You may say, well, they should do it anyway. Why should they? Shouldn't loyalty be rewarded? I think so. But it really doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what the factory thinks, the people who are actually going to be paying for the claim. And that's Chevrolet or Ford or Toyota or whoever. And they're the ones that are going to eat the repair because, well, they call it a goodwill repair. It's not something they have to do. I mean, they could follow the warranty guidelines by the letter and say, you're on your own. But they want you to come back when you're in the market for a car and buy another one from them. And, they've got their priorities right. So when does this work? Well, it'll work. I mean, I've seen them go out of warranty like 40,000 miles. But you get up around 50,000 miles out of warranty, you're probably not going to get any help. Because that's more than double the warranty coverage period in many cases. What about these lifetime powertrain warranties? Well, they're great. I mean, with every new vehicle that we sell, we offer a lifetime powertrain warranty. How do we do that? Well, we buy insurance. And it costs us, several $100s to be able to buy insurance on every vehicle that we sell. And that all goes into a pool. And when there are warranty claims, the money is paid out of that pool. And if that pool goes completely dry of funds, then insurance kicks in and takes over. We have about, I'm going to say, to cover a vehicle for a lifetime, that's a lot of exposure. And on typical lifetime warranty plans, the loss ratio is about 75% of the dollars that are paid in, for the coverage, paid into reserve. Now, for just what we would call extended warranties, like when you buy a new vehicle and you purchase a warranty or an extended service contract that covers you for, let's say, 5 years, 100,000 miles, the loss ratio on those kind of plans is closer to, between 45 and 50%. So that's why a lot of companies want to sell extended service contracts because it's profitable. I mean, they make money on the front end when they sell the product, and then they put money in reserve to pay claims, and only about 45% of the money that they put in reserve is used to pay claims. The rest of it's just profit once it earns out. But these warranties aren't bulletproof either, because if you don't maintain your vehicle and you have a major failure, a lot of these warranty companies are going to send an adjuster in, and they're going to look at the vehicle, and they're going to look how it was maintained, and they're going to ask for records that it was properly maintained. And if you can't produce them, then it's possible that they will turn down the claim. Now, I'm not real good about keeping receipts. Every time I go to a restaurant or whatever, or to buy something, they'll say, do you want your receipt? And I say, no, I don't need one. But when it comes to your car, if you have anything done to your car from a maintenance standpoint, always keep that. Fold it up, put it in your glove box, and even better than that, keep a record, some type of a log book, and keep the receipts as well. The logbook by itself, I guess somebody could make up a logbook, but if you have the actual receipts, you have a little folder or something like that in your car, and just every time you have an oil change, you just take the receipt, stick it in there. It's not as good if you go to Walmart, buy the oil and the filter, put it on yourself. That's not really proof that it went on your car. But if you have a repair order that has your VIN number, and it's done by a new car dealer or like I said, a high-quality independent shop, and it shows the oil and the filter and all that and the date and the miles, that's all the proof that you need to be able to get some of this taken care of. Okay, I'll take my last break. I'll be back here in just 1 minute. Just remember the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. That was hammered into my brain when I was a Boy Scout. Also this, be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. I think I learned that when I was like 10. And it stuck with me. And I hope some of this stuff sticks with you, because these are the things that we talk about on this program that really can save you a lot of money, a lot of hassle, help take some of the fear out of those situations that you will run into at some day, or somebody that you love will. I've had a lot of phone calls in the middle of the night. What do I do? Would it be nice if you could just get a little book out of your glove box and just tells you what you need to do in that case? I'm going to put some emergency things into the My Car Guru guidebook. That'll be the next chapter that I add. And anybody that's requested the book, either by text or by email, and there's a bunch of them, I will get it out to you. I promise. So if you want the My Car Guru guidebook, it's 32 pages long. I can text it to you or email it to you. You just got to let me know, 423-552-2020, or you can email me at lennylawson2020@gmail.com, and I'll get you a copy out. Read it, absorb it, and use it, because it will save you a bunch of money. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru, and I'll see you next time.